Food and Wine Insider is a weekly look at a $1.5 trillion industry touching every American. Devoted to the business of purveying food and decanting wines, Food and Wine Radio is a unique program highlighting not food recipes or wine vintages, but how to make a profit while satisfying America's palates. In this competitive but highly rewarding sector, many men and women have made profits while fulfilling a dream.
And Brian Goldberg is the CEO and founder of Mr. Bing. He is known for introducing New York City to the Northern Chinese street crepe, commonly known as Zhen Bing, or Bing for short. Brian Goldberg has been on a mission to bring Bings to the American mainstream since trying them for the first time while studying abroad in China in 1998. Brian, welcome to the program.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Well, Ann, I'm going to turn this one directly over to you.
Okay, wonderful. Hi, Brian. Welcome to Food and Wine Insider. Ni hao ma. I'm very excited to have you on the show, though I think I have forgotten all the Mandarin I learned going to school with my youngest daughter. You have a fascinating background, which includes equity sales and trading in Asian markets, and a TV news producer and reporter. I think I also read that you qualified the 2002 Winter Olympics in luge. Tell us a little bit more about your background and how it influenced you to get into the Zhen Bing business.
Yeah, no, my life has definitely been colorful. I'm born and raised in New York, and I went to college at Brandeis University, my master's at Columbia. I was a professional luge athlete for 3 years, traveling around the world on the World Cup circuit, all the way up to the Olympics. And then I retired from that, and I got hired by NBC Television as a page. And then CNBC hired me as like a junior producer. They moved me to Singapore. I started doing some reporting. I became a sports reporter for a Singaporean TV network there for a couple of years. And then I got interested in finance and trading stocks, and I got hired by an investment bank, and I did that for about 10 years in Taiwan, and then mostly in Hong Kong for 8 years. And then I started Mr. Bing while working in finance in Hong Kong. As like a side project, entrepreneurial project. It was popular, and I decided to bring it back to New York, where it would be probably more successful. And that's where I am now, is doing that. I moved back to the United States about 3 years ago after spending 14 years in Asia working. And I majored in Chinese in college 20 years ago. So when I was an undergrad in college in Beijing studying Mandarin, every morning before school, I would wake up and eat this food for breakfast on the street. Usually on the back of a bicycle cart, there'd be like a little old lady making these savory Chinese crepes that get folded into a sandwich. That's what a Zhen Bing is. Bing means crepe in Chinese. It's a very common street food in northern China, which for various reasons never really made it to America until just recently. So, it is a passion of mine. I wrote the business plan for Mr. Bing about 17 years ago when I was at Columbia University doing my master's degree, and I had to write a business plan for an academic project for one of the classes I was taking on entrepreneurship and finance. And that's how I, originally wrote the idea down, because I had just come back from China before, shortly before that, studying abroad and working there part-time. But I wasn't ready to really start the business at that age. I didn't really have a lot of experience, didn't have much money saved up. I wanted to go work for a company and learn the ropes in a bigger environment and save up some money. But I knew one day I'd probably start that business. And sure enough, in 2012 in Hong Kong, I did it. Got off to a good start, but made some mistakes in Hong Kong in terms of how we executed the plan. So decided to sort of restart back in New York, the same brand, same concept, same recipes, but with a sort of stronger environment and partners around me, and in a place like New York or America that was kind of more interested in what we were doing. It was more unique, sure. And there was a big trend for more authentic Chinese foods now. More authentic street foods from around the world in general are a big hit here. and food halls are growing, and there's spaces, for brands like us that have a small menu and focus on just a few items, in a high volume environment, to do well without having to spend, millions of dollars on large, Michelin star restaurant sort of build outs, right?
Yeah. I'm going to return to your business plan in a second, but I really would like you to just tell our listeners what Bing is and why you thought it would be a great idea to bring this street food to the U.S., well, at least New York right now.
Sure. Well, yeah, so as I said, Bing means crepe in Chinese. It's very different from French crepes. Basically, if you look at our website, MrBing.com, you'll see the video, like a 10-second high-speed time-lapse video showing you the process of how it's made, and it's made freshly in front of you in about 2 minutes. It's a mung bean flour, rice flour, wheat flour crepe with herbs and spices in it, and then you put a scrambled egg coating around the surface on the top, black and white sesame seeds, scallions, and then you flip it over, so now the egg is kind of like cooking on the bottom, and then you paint like a sweet hoisin sauce. You put some crispy chili paste, some cilantro, some crunchy wontons, and then if you want, you can fill it with proteins like shredded Peking duck, barbecue pork, drunken chicken, or some kimchi. Yeah, and then you fold the whole thing up into a pocket, and it kind of becomes like a sandwich. But it starts out as a crepe. It's like a savory Chinese crepe, folded into a sandwich. So it's kind of a hand food. You can eat it with a fork and knife if it's really hot, but you can pick it up with your hands as soon as it cools down a little bit. And it's customizable, right? So if you don't like scallions, or you don't like cilantro, or you want it extra spicy, or you want 2 eggs instead of 1 egg for more protein, or you want half the amount of batter so it has a little bit less carbohydrates, like you can do all that, and you just talk to the chef, to the Bing maker, Bing artist standing in front of you at the line, and they make it how you like it. So we also do dumplings. We have handmade dumplings. We have little Chinese side salads that go with the Bing as like a nice accoutrement. And we have like little mochi ice cream as well. And we do bubble tea. We do bubble tea now, which is very popular and growing. But the Bing is what we're famous for. And, we won the award in 2016 for the best new street food of New York City. It's called the Vendy Award, because we started as a pop-up. We started doing pop-ups before we started building permanent locations or permanent kiosks. So it's, our mission is to introduce Americans to what Bings are, but also to help Chinese people in America to return to their childhood through nostalgic feelings of this food that they grew up eating. Those are our 2 mission statements. That's what we do.
Well, I lived in Hong Kong for 3 years, so I'm very happy that you've brought these foods. I'm always searching out bubble tea myself. I'm trying to find the best bubble tea, but definitely I want to find where you're located so that I can enjoy the Bing. As you said, you wrote the business plan a really long time ago, and I think you introduced Bing at Urban Space, Garment Street Holiday Market in 2015. You had some learnings from your Hong Kong experience, but what were the first things you identified needing to learn as you brought the product to the U.S. and introduced it? And what did you learn during the process that may have been a surprise?
Well, when I used to eat these every day in Beijing, right? But they also have it in Shanghai, Tianjin, Shandong. It's mostly a northeastern thing, and there are some things that they put in there that maybe are a little controversial for Americans, like fermented tofu paste, for example, is one of the core ingredients that they usually put in China. We've left that off the menu for the time being here. Although we might consider putting it back on there. There actually might be some demand for it. For sure, the mainland Chinese customers want it. But we also, we wanted to present it better. It was usually they kind of make it real sloppy and messy in China, and they just chuck it in a plastic bag or in a piece of newspaper, and you just eat it like that. So we sort of cleaned it up a bit. We folded it a bit more nicely. We package it and we plate it a little better and just easier to eat, less messy. The sauce we use is maybe a little bit sweeter than the sauce that they have in China typically. they usually, here's the big thing. They don't usually put proteins and meats inside the bings in China. It's usually a breakfast food. They call it like the egg McMao, is like a funny joke name for it. But they don't put duck inside or barbecue pork or, drunken chicken, like fancy meats like we do. We elevate it a bit, so it becomes more like a lunch or a dinner. It's pretty filling, and we do offer it for breakfast here too. But the funny thing is, Americans, they've adapted it as lunch mostly and dinner. Only a little bit is breakfast. We're trying to grow the breakfast business, but people, breakfast is one of those things. It's one of the hardest things to change people's habits for breakfast. People are really willing to try different things for lunch or dinner, but less so for breakfast. But that's okay. We're going to keep at it. It is a great breakfast Chinese breakfast sandwich, basically. And there's also speed. Learning how to make it faster, how to prep it faster. For midtown lunch rush when people don't have time. Little tweaks and things that we're constantly learning how to adapt the product to a new environment.
So how many permanent locations do you have versus mobile carts, and where are they located?
So we're all in Manhattan. Our flagship permanent kiosk is at 45th and Vanderbilt. The address is 230 Park Avenue inside the Urban Space Vanderbilt Food Hall. It's in the Helmsley building right next to Grand Central Station. That is a kiosk in a food hall. It is permanent though. We also have a kiosk in Times Square that we just opened about a month ago. That is at 47th and Broadway in the pedestrian plaza. It's basically a shipping container that's been converted to a small takeaway Mr. Bing shop. It's right in front of Morgan Stanley's global headquarters. The TKTF steps are right there. So those are our two permanent ones right now. We have an outdoor mobile cart, which we usually keep at 25th Street and Broadway and 5th Avenue in front of Italy and Madison Square Park and Shake Shack's original location. So we have a pop-up there right now. That cart can move, and we are planning to probably move it closer to Midtown or Rockefeller Center very soon. We have a third permanent location opening in Chelsea, 28th Street and 7th Avenue near FIT in the Flower District. A lot of design firms and architecture shops there. That's where our office is, and our commissary kitchen is there too. And there's a small store that will be opening soon, more like a takeout store.
So with streetcars, I'm curious. With streetcars, are there permits required? How complicated a process is it to? I imagine you have to also get the location and all of that. That's a whole different animal, right?
Yeah, every city and state has different rules about this. Food trucks versus carts. We chose the cart method because it can go on sidewalks and there's more places you can put it. But it is a logistical nightmare having to, bring it out every morning and put it back every night in a particular registered garage where it gets cleaned and all that. And there is different types of cart permits. Currently we have a New York City Parks permit, which is for very specific spots that are owned by New York City Department of New York City Parks. And the good thing about those are that once you win that bid and go through that whole process, which is a long process, it took us almost 18 months from start to finish. That's your spot. No one else. You don't have to worry about sort of fighting with other carts and trucks about taking that spot. The other types of permits are citywide permits, where you either apply to be able to bring it to any borough in the city you want, or one specific borough, and those are more flexible for sure. There's a lot of those out there, but there's kind of they stopped issuing new ones. So if you want to get one, you have to buy one from someone else that doesn't want theirs anymore. So there's a whole little world that you have to navigate in order to get those. And the thing with those though is that when you put your cart in whatever spot you want, there's other carts that are probably there or want to be there or have been there for a long time. And it's always a negotiation, sort of an unwritten rule that you have to respect the other carts that have that spot. It's not they don't have a license for that spot, but it's kind of like a little it's like a street cred thing in a way.
Sure.
So you have to navigate that world, and if you don't navigate it well, and if you disrespect the other cart guys, you won't have a good time.
You know, it sounds to me that authenticity is really important to you. So I'm curious about how many employees you have, who are they, and how are they trained to make this make your Bing?
We have just under 50 staff now, around 40 something. The number fluctuates a bit depending on how many pop-ups we have going or not. We have about 5 or 6 people at the corporate level on like full-time salaries, like our director of operations and, you know, catering manager and, you know, those kind of myself and like those kind of things. I taught the original staff here how to do it myself. You know, I make the Bings myself, you know, really well. I can do them really fast. I can do 2 at the same time, you know, and our staff have to learn how to do that. And they get bumps up in their salaries, you know, the better they get with Bing making and with cleanliness and customer service and, you know, what kind of food handler licenses they have and things like that. So there's a hierarchy, I guess. You know, there's supervisors at each unit that are the most experienced, and they then train the people underneath them. And, you know, I'm always doing spot checks, and our director of operations are always doing spot checks around our stores. And if you see someone not doing it right, you know, you have to note it and let the supervisor know to please improve the training of this particular person. And it's a learning process. There's a bit of an art to making a Bing. It takes a little while to get good at it. And it's something we pride ourselves on. It's not, you know, we're like a bit of a performance food in a way, performance art food. It's just, yeah, but for the most part, I guess our system's working pretty well, you know. You know, we're trying to develop a little bit of a Mr. Bing University sort of at our office / commissary / you know, Chelsea store, where they'll have to train there for a little while until they achieve a certain standard before they can actually, you know, go out into the field and start making Bings at the high foot traffic locations.
So does the commissary produce all of the ingredients, and then the mobile cart is basically about assembly? Is that how it works? Yep,
exactly. Okay. Yeah, the batter is mixed at the commissary. The wontons are fried at the commissary. All the veggies are cut and chopped up. The meats are pre-cooked, and all you have to do is rewarm them on site. All the sauces are bottled and portioned out at the commissary. Yeah, you want to make it as easy as possible to put a Bing together on site, for sure. But the good thing is it allows us to, like, you know, for real estate opportunities, you know, we don't need venting. That's a big thing, right? And we need a very small space. We don't need a big space. So it opens up opportunities for us real estate wise and helps to keep rent relatively low.
Sure. So how many Bings do you sell in a day, and what's the pricing of a Bing?
I think we sold like 700 yesterday or something like that, across 3 locations that we had going yesterday. So on busy days, you know, locations are doing 200 to 250 Bings a day, sometimes creeping up towards 300. On slower days, you know, 100 to 200-ish. What was your next question about the numbers?
And what's the pricing of the Bing?
So it's around $10 to $15, depending on which one you get, with the Peking duck being the luxury high end of that price scale, and the classic vegetarian being the lower end at 10. Although we are experimenting with a bit of a lower price in Times Square, albeit with a smaller portion size, because it's a lot of tourists and they just want to eat something small out of their hands while they walk around and look at the bright lights and all that. So we start at $8 there and go up to $12. And we sell a lot more of like these lower price items like bubble tea and mochi ice cream, small little like snacks and things like that. So,
right. Do you find there's a seasonality to the business?
Oh, for sure.
Or do people eat it all year round?
Definitely eat it all year round. But winter time, especially because we have a bunch of outdoor locations at the moment, that's super weather dependent. So when it gets cold in the winter, dead of winter, for sure your sales are taking a significant hit. But it's pretty steady at the indoor kiosks at the food halls, to tell you the truth.
Sure.
It is a warmer, like a heavier comfort food that's very popular in the north of China, and I feel it probably does better when it's like, in a way, like 30 to 40 degrees. But it's still, it's a when it's like, cooler temperatures, or not overly hot. When it's overly hot, people want to have a slushie, they want to have ice cream, they want to have like a cold, obviously colder things.
And
but if you're working, and we diversify it by having, mochi ice cream and and bubble tea and things like that. But it's you can eat it all year round. And if you're in an office environment and it's air conditioned, then you're ordering delivery or takeout to your office, and it doesn't really matter, does it?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how do you maintain the quality and the cleanliness in food handling when you have carts? How does that work?
Well, we have basically an inspector that we hire to go do like mystery checks, like surprise visits and all that stuff, to keep everyone on their toes. You never know when he's going to show up, to make sure the staff are following all the rules. We have security cameras at all of our locations as well, which we can monitor from our mobile phones or from our office. We hire people. Every unit has to have at least one person with a food handler's license on them, and they're also responsible for overseeing other staff. Mobile carts in particular, you need to have a mobile food vending permit as well, which is like an additional level of cleanliness standards that you're supposed to know and understand and enforce. We made very specific stainless steel cutouts to accommodate all of our ingredients. Every little ingredient has its specific place of where it goes, and it makes it easier to keep the cart clean on the inside when every ingredient and every container and every little topping and whatever has its spot. Like it's a mise en place, right? It's a mise en place, and it's we've developed that over time, and it keeps getting better and better, and it really helps to keep the stations clean, because it is fully in view of customers. Obviously, when they're in a rush and they're making 100 bings in a short amount of time, it is going to get a bit messy, but they have to stop, and they have to clean down, wipe down, and you have to have your sanitizer buckets and everything there, and a process for that. One thing we're working on to keep it cleaner and make the process faster is pre-making the crepe skins, or the bing skins as we call it, like before the rush, so that you have like 50 or 100 crepe like skins already stacked up, warm, ready to go. They were just made, the eggs on there, the sesame, the scallions already on there. And then you just put it back on the crepe machine and fill it with whatever the customer wants in terms of the sauces and the meats and the other fillings, right? And that cuts the prep time down. It also keeps the stations cleaner, because then you don't have, eggs splashing around and sesame seeds and scallions flying all over the place, right? So that's really helpful during the rush. You don't need to do that when it's like slower, because people still want to see the show, the whole mesmerizing process of spinning the crepe, right? It's always fun to watch that, So
what's a typical day in the life of a mobile cart?
We have a logistics truck that makes the rounds between all of our locations, and it also, the first stop it makes in the morning is the mobile cart commissary in Long Island City, Queens, just across the Queensboro Bridge. Picks up the cart, attaches it to the hitch through the trailer system, brings it across the bridge, drops off the cart, at its location for the day, and also stocks it with food, all the ingredients that it's picked up at our commissary. It's a refrigerated van that we have, so it stocks it up, and then the staff should be there prepping and getting everything set up. And then it's, open for business at 11 a.m. and serving customers, and then doing a wipe down, clean down throughout the rush, every half hour. And then after the lunch rush, there's usually maybe mid-afternoon, there's a restock. The truck comes back after it's done other stops and restocks on ingredients that they're running low on. And it's constantly in touch with the supervisor of the cart, and so the supervisor of the cart and the truck driver and our kitchen manager all need to be talking to each other, about stuff and what's needed. At the end of the day, they clean up, and then the truck comes, picks it up, and brings it back to the commissary. And then at the commissary, it gets cleaned down, washed down, and like deep cleaned.
Wow.
And
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean it's a $60,000 piece of equipment. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
It's not a rinky dink. It's not a rinky dink cart. It's a it's a full on kitchen on four wheels.
So you were saying you start the mobile carts at 11, and you've introduced now breakfast the breakfast wraps. So are those at your permanent location, the breakfast items, or where are you testing those out?
Yeah, at Vanderbilt in Midtown at 45th and Vanderbilt. We just launched that, like, I guess in January, mid-January. Yeah, we do the classic original Bing, which is the, just the vegetarian one. But we also have a maple bacon, egg, and cheese version of it, and we have a just like egg and cheese version. Basically, we offer cheese as an option, as a filling, and the maple bacon. And we have a Nutella. We have a Nutella one, which we sell all day long as well. It's like a Chinese thing with filled with Nutella, and we offer that at breakfast too. So just those 4 options, Yeah, I'm thinking about even if we open the cart in Midtown for breakfast and just hang a big sign on the front of it that says Chinese breakfast sandwich, and you just pre-make a whole bunch of them. Just the double egg. I like it with 2 eggs and half the amount of batter. Just like the double egg classic Bing, and have a whole bunch of them pre-made, ready to go, hot and fresh. And people don't have to wait. People are rushing to their morning meetings in Midtown, and just like keep it simple. One option. It's the best one, and here it is. Go.
So what's next? What's next for Mr. Bing?
Well, we're just like strengthening our foundations, and trying to move the cart to Rockefeller Center. I think I'll be busier there. I used to work at NBC too as a page, so I'll be real excited to have it right outside the studio, which is kind of fun. Maybe get some celebrity appearances there, build up the marketing and the media of our brand. Get the Chelsea store open. It's not open yet. Make sure that gets opened, right? We're launching a kiosk on a cruise boat that goes to the Statue of Liberty for the tourists, like back and forth 10 times a day, and it's like 80% like mainland Chinese tourists that are on that boat. So we'll have like a little kiosk on there for them, which is cool. And we have this bicycle cart that we use for catering. It's like you can see it on our website. It's really cool. It's like an old vintage Chinese bicycle attached to a cart. And that's like, we're trying to find a permanent home for that, like in another food hall. So we're basically looking for another couple of food hall locations. Those do really well for us. And just kind of reach like a critical mass of like, 5 or 6 operations going that are all profitable. Plus we have a catering business. We do office catering, corporate catering, event catering, weddings and things like that. And that could be that is a significant business, and we want to continue growing that. And then just like strengthen the existing assets that we have, right? Make them perform better and better, understand the numbers more and more, get the throughput speeds faster and faster, implement those, the pre-made Bing skins when necessary, see how that works, improve our packaging about, the handheld version versus the plated version, improve our staff, just continuing to improve the staff culture, and then, maybe test this like a small brick and mortar version early next year, with some seating, where we can sort of flesh out the Beijing sort of street atmosphere and the music and the whole feeling inside of our own 4 walls, as opposed to a food hall kiosk, and see how that works, and see how it works outside New York, outside Manhattan, but not far away, like a suburb somewhere, maybe Jersey somewhere, maybe Westchester, maybe Connecticut, maybe Long Island, maybe Philadelphia. See how it works in another city to prove that it's not just a fad in Manhattan, that it has legs to be popular in other places, which we're very confident that it will. And what that price point is too, that's going to work the best.
So Brian, I have the opportunity to ask you one last question, though I have so many questions for you. And you really have paid attention to all the details, which I find really, really impressive, to, whether it's the cleanliness or making sure you have the permits or how you train people and all of the particulars. If you had to give advice to someone else who wanted to have a mobile food business, what would it be?
Oh, be prepared. It's really hard. It is hard. I suggest doing pop-ups like at street festivals and all that, like with the tents and things like that. That's cheaper and easier to do initially, just to hone your product and your brand and your process. The mobile part of it is like another level of complexity, because there's just so many things that can go wrong along the way, whether it's at the commissary or in transport. your driver not showing up on time, certain staff not showing up on time. There are potential accidents that happen along the way. It is complicated. It's fun and it's very cool, but there are a lot of extra costs involved in the mobile business that you don't have when you have a permanent location. So if you ask me, it's fun to do one, as like a test. And it's also really good for marketing too, because you can bring it around to different events. But in my opinion, it's not the most scalable. It's not the most scalable business, the mobile business. It's nice to have as part of your overall portfolio of footprints, but it's not, it's very difficult to scale a mobile business. And if you're looking to scale and really create a multi-unit brand, doing it via mobile units, mobile carts and trucks is probably not the way to do it. But that said, if you just want to operate one mobile cart or one truck and make good money from that and keep your overhead low, and you're just trying to support yourself and like maybe your partner or something like that, and that's very doable. There's been a lot of people that do that, a lot of people that are very happy with that. They have one cart or maybe two carts and trucks or something, or just a few, and that's their business, and they're happy with that, and it produces a good income for them. And it's a lot of work though, but I'm trying to create something for Mr. Bing that's definitely more scalable, on a larger, out of New York and all that. And the mobile cart's not the way to do that.
Brian, I want to thank you so much for your time. I'm going to turn it to Don so that we make sure that we have your website and how people can connect with you. Don?
Brian, what is your website?
It's MrBing.com, but there's a hyphen there, mr-bing.com, Mr-Bing.com.
Well, thank you. We've been talking with Brian Goldberg. He's the CEO and founder of Mr. Bing. He has brought to New York City the Northern Chinese street crepe, commonly known as Bing, or Bing for short. A link to his website will be on foodandwineinsider.com tonight. You can hear this and every other Food and Wine Insider program on the website as well. Brian, thank you so much for being with us.
And check out our Instagram at Mr. Bing NYC, MRBING NYC.
You got it. Thank you so much. To be successful, most restaurant owners require extra capital from time to time. When you need funding to renovate, buy equipment, or manage cash flow, you don't have time to track down financial statements or wait weeks for a decision. That's where Cabbage can help. Cabbage gives small businesses access to a line of credit of up to $200,000. Apply online and you'll get a decision right away. Since Cabbage is a line of credit, you can take the exact amount you need. You never have to reapply to take additional loans, and you'll only pay for the funds you use. Cabbage has helped more than 230,000 businesses from every industry, and with $4 billion in funding, Cabbage is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and was named the Forbes Top 100 Companies twice in a row. Check out Cabbage at cabbagewithak.com/foodandwine, and you'll get a $50 gift card when you qualify. That's KABBAGE.com/foodandwine.
Line of credit is subject to credit approval. See terms and conditions. All Cabbage business loans are issued by Celtic Bank, a Utah chartered industrial bank, member FDIC.
And our next guest is someone I'm really looking forward to. He's Salvatore Russo-Tiesi. He's general manager of the U.S. branch of Bono, the largest producer of extra virgin olive oil in Sicily, or Sicilia, as I would know it. And first, I've got to tell you, Salvatore, you sent us a sample of your marmalade and your extra virgin olive oil, and both of them were out of this world. Thank you, especially the blood red marmalade. It was out of this world. Unfortunately, as a diabetic, I couldn't enjoy it as much as I want to, but as much as I could, I did. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Salvatore, I'm going to turn you directly over to Ann.
Okay.
Thank you, Don. And I have to say, blood red orange marmalade is actually my favorite marmalade. So you sent the perfect product as well as the olive oil, and I love olive oil. So, Salvatore, could you tell us a little bit about your history, your personal history, and how you got involved with Bono Olive Oil from Sicily, which is a family-owned business since 1934?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you, and Don, thank you for having me on today. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to a nice conversation today. But to get right to it, your question about how I got involved with Bono. So I was born and raised in Sicily, and I lived there, of course, with my family. And my father was the GM of Ford cars, Ford Motors, as we know it here in the States. He was the GM of Ford Motors in Sicily. And as the head of Ford Motors, his main concentration was on the larger corporate accounts, some of the corporate cars, along with everything else. But that was one thing that he was hands-on with. So with that being said, one of his clients in Sicily was Bono Olive SAS. So he formed a great working and personal relationship with the Bonos. And when I was a little kid, I could remember many memories of spending personal time aside from my dad spending work time with them. So it's a family that I've known since I was a little baby, and it's a family that's close to my heart personally and work-wise as well. When the economy kind of went a little downhill in Sicily, as I like to say, a lot, when the economy went down, my mother was an American citizen already. She had some roots here in the United States in Brooklyn, New York. So it was relatively easy for us to see the writing on the wall on what was happening in Sicily. You know, when the economy went down, not too many people were purchasing cars, especially corporate cars. That was kind of one of the first things that was flashed from any budget. So when we saw the writing on the wall, my father and my mother decided to pack up. And at the time, it was just us three. My sister was not born yet. But us three, we decided to pack up and come to the States, where my mother's side of the family, my grandfather had some housing and had a base set up here in the States. Again, my mother was a citizen. My dad was able to get his green card. I was a natural citizen born abroad because my mother registered me immediately. So we immediately moved to the States, and almost immediately, due to our relationship with the Bonos, my father started his business of importing olive oil with his own company and selling it mostly to restaurants and little delis and shops that are around here in northern New Jersey. We're based out of Fairfield. So that's how things got started. As I grew up and I went through school and I got my college degree, my side job was here helping out my father, everything from unloading containers to helping pack and pick and anything else that had to be done. So I did that throughout my schooling on top of getting my degree. When I graduated, my heart was here. And so, long story short, almost immediately after I graduated, I decided to sit down with the Bono family, who at this point I've grown to know and love so closely. And we opened up a full United States office so we can attack the full American market. Because my father's small business he started was many products, and they also concentrate just strictly in a small area. And we had ambitions to turn this project national.
So there are many olive oils on the market. What makes Bono olive oil so special? And after you talk about that, I really would like you to describe your packaging.
Sure. So if I may, I'm going to start with the packaging, if that's okay with you, Ann, just to kind of touch on that and maybe give people an idea as best as possible, a non-visual idea of what it looks like for those who don't know the brand.
Absolutely. Please do.
Yes. So we do have a unique packaging. We have a custom bottle that we made and invested heavily in. So if you ever held a grasp of our bottle, whether it be the 250 milliliter or the half liter or the 750, whatever it may be, our bottle is custom. It has our emblem in the front above the label, and it also has our name running down the side of the bottle. So immediately our bottle is part of our brand. You know right away, Bono bottle, Bono brand. So first and foremost, it starts with this beautiful bottle that we have created that really stands out on the shelf, and our marketing team in Sicily did an amazing job with it. So it starts with the bottle, then it moves to the labels. We also have an amazing marketing team that has won many awards in Italy that created beautiful labels that also really stand out on the shelf. So the combination of the bottle and the label really catch the eye of the consumer walking down the oil shelf, walking down the oil aisle, I should say, on the shelf. As you know, Ann, when you're not a fully established brand like a Tide or a Nutella, a consumer will buy with their eyes. That's the first thing that they're able to use to judge a product. So it's very important for us to have the very best packaging possible, which I think we have. We have a very clean label, a beautiful label and bottle. So I think we've definitely checked that box off in terms of the packaging. So that's our packaging. If you could kind of imagine something different with a very clean label and a very unique bottle that, of course, only we have because it's ours. So that's the packaging side of it. However, here at Bono, we like to concentrate and for us, it's more about the product inside, although the packaging, as we said, is important. So we have a very high quality product. Now, what makes our product so high quality? Why are we different? Why do we stand out in such a competitive, large industry? We stand out because we are from Sicily. Sicily has the most amazing climate and microclimate for the growth of olives, most especially the olives that we use to make our oil. The olives that we use, and I'm just going to rattle them off very quickly, there's just 3 of them, is a Nocellara, Biancolilla, Cerasuola. Those 3 olives are the secret sauce for everything that we provide. Those 3 olives require a climate and microclimate like the one that you find in Sicily in order to successfully grow. So if you do not have a climate and microclimate like Sicily, you simply cannot have those olives at your disposal to use. Why is that important? That's important because those are the best olives that make the very best extra virgin olive oil. If you think about extra virgin olive oil for a second, extra virgin olive oil is a very simple product. It's one ingredient. If you look at the ingredient listing, it's just olives. It's just oil. That's all it is. So the raw material is 100% of the importance of the product. You know, I always compare it to, it's not like mom's secret lasagna recipe with many products and many different ways of going about making it. This is simply the pressing, the first cold pressing of olives. And we're lucky enough to be from Sicily, and we're lucky enough to have these beautiful olives at our disposal. Once we have these amazing olives to make our extra virgin olive oil, next comes the pressing of the olives, which sounds very easy, but also has its own recipe book behind it. Our olives have to be pressed a certain way. Our olives have to be stored, when it becomes olive oil, it must be stored under a certain temperature. We personally store it underground in underground silos that we have in Sicily. And we have state-of-the-art machinery and a state-of-the-art facility in Sicily that presses the olives and extracts the water and does everything necessary to make the very best olive oil from the very best olives. Now, to take it a step even further, what makes us very special is our participation in 2 specific programs that are third-party run. One is PDO, Protected Designation of Origin, and one is PGI, Protected Geographical Indication. These are important because in today's olive oil industry, what's important is 3 things, what I like to call the big 3: quality, authenticity, and traceability. We have the quality based off our olives. We have the authenticity and traceability based off these difficult programs that we participate in. Again, PDO and PGI are the programs. They're third-party run. What this basically means in a nutshell, to kind of sum it up as quick as I can, in order to make these extra virgin olive oils and have these certifications, we must follow a third-party, what I like to call recipe book, in terms of how we press, when we press, the olives we use, how we store, when we store, and when we bottle. Okay, so we have to follow their recipe book on that. But we must also follow their rules in terms of traceability. This starts from the very first day the olives grow on the tree. It starts with the farmers who must participate in this as well. From the very first day, these 2 programs know how many olive trees are participating in the program, where they're located, and more or less, they already know at the beginning of the year how much olive oil can possibly be made. So from the very first day the olive starts growing on the tree to when we, Bono Olive Oil, bottle it, all of it is being monitored by a third-party agency with many different employees. So that provides the utmost traceability and authenticity that is possible in this world. There's no way to sneak in other olives. There's no way to make it the wrong way. There's no way to store it the wrong way. Every part of the process, from when the olive grows to the tree, to how the farmers water the trees, to how they pick their olives, to when they bring our olives to us, to how fast we press the olives, to how we store the oil, and then at the very end, to how the product tastes before we bottle it. All of it is being overseen by a third-party agency. So if you just reflect 1 second on everything I explained, this allows us to have the big three that I mentioned in olive oil: authenticity, quality, and traceability. So we are reassuring the consumer that what they're buying is the real deal and is not an adulterated product. And we are also further assuring quality based off the quote-unquote recipe book we must follow and everything we do along the way.
You know, Salvatore, what you've said is unbelievably critical because, as you're aware, there have been always issues with some olive oils, in fact, either not being extra virgin or they're being blended. And so the consumer doesn't know what they're buying. It may
Correct.
say extra virgin olive oil, but it's not. What approaches have you taken to educate the consumer for what to look for? And are there certain designations on your packaging so people really say, I'm getting the authentic, quality, extra virgin olive oil product? What do you do to get the consumer to know that?
That right there is, if you walk into our office in our billboard room, that's right there, number one on the billboard. Our greatest issue, our greatest subject that we're tackling right now is exactly what you said. So the way we go about it is, number one, these programs I mentioned have specific logos on the label. So number one, we need to continue with the help of social media, marketing companies, PR companies, and education, right? Because it's all about education with extra virgin olive oil. Through various channels of education, our number one goal is to spread the recognition and understanding of these programs, PDO and PGI, and to spread the recognition of these logos on the label, because then, like you said, they know, okay, these oils participate in PDO, PGI, therefore they are 99.9% sure to be the real deal. So we try to educate consumers on these programs, what they mean and why they're important. That's number one. Number two, further, on our PDO certified, every single bottle comes with its own unique serial number. Every bottle has its own serial number. Every bottle is like a VIN number on a car. You can track each bottle back to who bottled it and the farmers that participate in the PDO program. Now, you cannot trace it back to the very tree your bottle was made with. That is not possible. But what is possible is when you buy this bottle and you go online and you plug in the serial number, you will see who bottled it and the farms that are involved in this program. Okay, so you got the logo and you got a serial number. On our PGI certified product, it's not a unique 9-digit serial number like PDO. Rather, it's like a 4 or 5-digit number on the back of the label. So also very traceable, very in-depth, but not as in-depth as PDO. And I should probably take a second to explain. PDO is a region of Sicily, so it's PDO Val di Mazzara. And then PGI is the whole island of Sicily. Therefore, in PDO, the product must come from the Valley of Mazzara, which is the province of Palermo and the west part of Agrigento, which is a small area of Sicily, whereas PGI comes from the whole island of Sicily. So PDO is a little bit more niche than PGI, but they're both very important. So to answer your question again, we try to educate the consumer on what these programs mean and why they're important. They're important because for more or less the same price on the shelf, for a very competitive price, if you purchase a PDO and a PGI certified product, you're getting the full guarantee from a third-party agency farmers and a company, and the largest company that bottles Sicilian oil. All three of us are providing a guarantee to you that what you're buying is the real deal. So when you go to a supermarket and you pick this up, for example, for $12.99 for a half-liter bottle, $13.99 for a half-liter bottle, which is in line with the pricing of other extra virgin olive oils, you know that your money is going to a product that is the real deal.
Excellent. So as we're talking about distribution, in what channels are you focusing the distribution of your products?
So the channels that we focus on are the natural, specialty, organic, which in the industry has a acronym of NOSHI. So natural, specialty, organic is where our product thrives and where it belongs. In terms of where we're focusing, our focus really is nationwide because we're lucky enough to have the broker and distribution channel, the broker and distribution network, I should say, to be able to achieve that. We're lucky enough to have several warehouses throughout the states. We have brokers throughout the United States that work on our account. And we also have the distributors, the boots on the ground, so to speak, the trucking, the distribution to get the product to virtually any shelf in the United States. So although we kind of look at a map and pick out pockets of where we want to be, our focus is really national in those channels.
And what have been some of your biggest challenges in getting the product into the retail trade in the U.S.?
You know, I would say the biggest challenges are, you know, we're in an industry that is very large. There are a lot of extra virgin olive oils out there. There are a lot of companies that are trying to sell their brand of extra virgin olive oil. And so there's just so much out there for these decision makers to absorb. You know, I've heard many decision makers say to me, you know, I've seen 15 oils in 2 days. I've seen 30 oils in 2 days, whatever it may be. So, you know, the challenge that I face is, I like to say opportunity. The challenge I face is the opportunity to get in front of the decision maker, the opportunity to get on the shelf, the opportunity to show my product, the opportunity to grab the ear of the decision maker. Because I know at the end of the day, once I'm able to explain, and more importantly, once my product is tasted by the consumer, I know that my retention rate and my reorder rate from the personal consumers is very high. Once I'm able to get in front of there anyone on my team for that matter, once we're able to get on there, I know that we have a good chance of being successful. So the biggest challenge has been the opportunity to sit down, the opportunity to get the trial and things of that matter.
Now, you've really also won some awards, which in a very crowded category has to make you incredibly proud. Can you talk a little bit about some of your recent awards? Yes,
we're very, very proud. We've won many awards throughout the years, over 30 since we started. But to focus on these recent awards that we won, we're very proud that 2 years ago we won Gold Award for 2 of our products in the New York International Olive Oil Competition, which is the most prestigious competition in the States and arguably the world. So we won 2 golds in 2016. We won a silver this year in the very same competition. Also this year, for the first time, we're very, very, very happy to say that we won 2 Sophie Awards, which a Sophie Award really exemplifies everything that we're about. It's an amazing award that has gained so much traction and has done so much good for us. So I am very proud to say that we won 2 Sophie Awards this year, organized by the Specialty Food Association.
I'm going to jump in here right now and give a kudos to Anne. You know who created and named the Sophie Award, don't you, Salvatore?
Is it
Anne?
It's Anne.
Past president. Yes.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your work, Anne. It's obviously an award you know well, so you know how important it is to win 2 of them.
No, absolutely. It's very unusual to win 2 of them. So it's bravo to you folks. How many people are involved in the business in the U.S.?
So here in the United States for Bona USA, we have 2 full-time executives. We have 10 brokers in our broker network and 3 administrative employees in our office. We also have a full-time marketing and PR firm that's based in New York that works very closely with us.
Wow. And what relationships are you thinking are the key to the success of the business?
Well, Ann, as you know, this business is 110% relationship driven. It's very important to have a relationship with the decision makers and the correct brokers that give you the opportunities that I was alluding to earlier.
Yeah, working with brokers, it's very important to have not only good relationships, but really clear goals. And there are a lot of very, very good brokers out there that have those relationships with retail.
Yes.
And so I'm sure that with a good broker network, you're able to be, very successful in markets that you can't be in every single day. So
right.
if I would love to hear you talk a little bit, therefore, about advice you would give to another budding entrepreneur in terms of bringing a foreign product to the U.S. and, introducing it here and what it takes to do that.
Yeah, when I think of this question, I think of the very popular iceberg photo that circulates the internet and the business world. The one I'm referring to is the one where they show the picture of the iceberg, and 90% of the iceberg's underwater and 10% is above water. So the meaning of that and why I think that's so cool and so important is when you're looking at successful business, you see the iceberg above the water, right? Everyone sees the successful businesses out there. But what you don't see, which is the 90% of the iceberg that's underwater, you don't see is the constant struggle and hardships every day to build the business. Obstacles, mistakes, errors, accidents, they happen every single day. And you face great adversity every day. And when you're able to build that successful business, from the outside looking in, you see the 10% of the iceberg above the water, but you don't see the 90% under the water. And so I would say have great fortitude, be fearless in the face of adversity, and remember why you're doing it every day. And make sure you keep your feet on the ground and stay humble and hungry, because it beats you up every day, and it's important to have the fortitude and remember why you're doing this. And little by little, things will turn out as they should and turn out as they will, and the hard work will pay off. So, for a budding entrepreneur, I would just say those things to them. Anyone wanting to get started, that, you're going to get started, and when you first start getting into it, you're not going to see a light at the end of the tunnel, and you're going to kind of say, what the heck's going on here? But it's important to just, have faith, trust the process, and keep fighting,
Salvatore, for someone who is only in their late 20s, that is some unbelievably wise advice. And I know we've run out of time, though I did want to ask you, how do you keep the parent company in Italy happy, given that it's run by 4 brothers?
Results. Results are important, but it's just that constant dialogue, and we do have that personal relationship, like I mentioned, but it's the constant dialogue and always moving forward, even if it's a third of a baby step forward. We don't have to always leap every day, but as long as things move forward and not backwards, and we have open dialogue and we do show results, we're good to go.
Great. I'm going to turn it back to you, Don.
We have been talking with Salvatore Russo-Tiesi. He is general manager of the U.S. branch of Bono, the largest producer of extra virgin olive oil in Sicily. Salvatore, your website again for people?
Our website is Bono, Bono, USA, Inc. So BonoUSAInc.com. That's our U.S. website. There's a wonderful store locator on there that consistently gets revised and renewed to keep up. So it's actually being revised and renewed right now. It'll be up again Monday, and that'll show you everywhere possible you can go and get our product anywhere in the United States with a beautiful interactive map.
A link to this website will be on foodandwineinsider.com tonight. You can hear this and every other program on the site as well. Thank you so much, Salvatore, for being with
Thank you very much. And Don, thank you.
You've been listening to Food and Wine Insider with Ann Daw and Don Mazzella. Want to join us on a future show? Contact us at foodandwineinsider.com. Until next time, have a passion for food, wine, and profits. And think of our program, Food and Wine Insider.